I'm Mark.
And I'm Josh.
And this is Alter Ego Comics TV for the week of March 15th, 2017. It is New Comic Book Day all around the world. Actually, yesterday was New Comic Book Day in some places.
Yes.
And maybe tomorrow. But we are here to talk about the books that we like the most, things that we want to recommend to you, comics that are awesome, and I will kick things off with The Amazing Spider-Man number 25. The Osborn identity begins here. This is the return of Norman Osborn, and he's been up to some weird stuff. This is an oversized 25th issue number 25. It's a giant-size issue number 25. Written by Dan Slott, artwork by Stuart Immonen, who's the new regular penciler on Spider-Man, and many more. So there are several backup stories in here that run the gamut from humor to kind of cartoony to traditional Spider-Man-y. All kinds of good stuff. But the main story focuses on Spider-Man and Mockingbird, who apparently is his new go-to person. No, he's working with S.H.I.E.L.D. a lot. Well, yeah. They've worked a lot through S.H.I.E.L.D. Since the series started.
He made wings for her. She owes him.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why I like this issue. I like the relationship between Peter and Bobby and Greg from the Brady Bunch. Sorry. And it's just... That relationship moves the story forward and creates new situations for Spider-Man and Peter Parker that we really kind of sort of haven't seen before. This issue also features the return of a Spider-Man character presumed dead, so there's more incentive to pick it up. And it's got humor, it's got action. Peter kind of is on a mission to score a win. In the book, he said he needs a win because of the clone conspiracy storyline that happened and all the other garbage that's been going on in his life. And there's so much that happens in this. I'm leaving other stuff out because I don't know how to talk about it without spoiling.
Right.
What do you have things to add?
I do. Not really. It was really good. Sometimes when we get oversized issues like this, there's a lot of back matter that's not necessarily relevant or that's not great. In this case, first I was really happy with the percentage of it that was the main team. I'm like, more than half of that huge book is Slott and who's the pencil? Immonen. But then the backups are all tied into stuff going on in the Spider-Verse, and I thought all of them were great. So yeah, I was very pleased with it.
Yeah, way to go, Marvel.
Good job.
And Dan Slott.
And Dan Slott.
Everyone that participated. Yeah. To the whole team, I'd like to thank you.
Does Stuart Immonen draw Peter a little bit like he's a Muppet? Like he has this kind of wry smile. It's very strange.
A little bit.
Still good though. My pick of the week this week is Cody and the Creepers #1 from Boom under their Boombox imprint. This is written by Liz Prince, who is a indie comics person, and I don't mean indie comics like Brian K. Vaughan is indie comics. I mean like stapled together, distributed by hand at conventions. Indie comics. Will You Still Love Me If I Wet the Bed, one of her first autobiographical compilations, over a decade ago now, won the Ignatz Award. More recently, she's done a number of things, and she's been working a lot for Boom in their licensed category. She's wrote the Marceline story for Adventure Time, and a number of other things. Cody and the Creepies is about a teen band. All three sisters traveling the country, and they get into the very beginning of the issue. There is a horrific accident, and one of them she's in a wheelchair. I don't know if she's paralyzed or if there's nerve damage or what, but she's not fully mobile. The other's got a wicked scar across her face, which she refers to as the Harry Potter scar. And the third one walked away completely unfazed. Except, also relatively early in the book, we find out she did not walk away unfazed. She's actually dead, and she's a ghost. It is super cool and fun. It's very believable. You've got, basically, it's Scooby-Doo if instead of the Mystery Machine, or instead of the investigators, they were an all-girl punk rock band, and Shaggy was dead. That's basically what it is. And it's super great, lots of fun. Their road manager, the guy that drives the van around, is sort of humorous and discovers chimichangas, which are deep-fried burritos, in case you weren't aware. And the ghost girl runs into another ghost who is off investigating mystical phenomena across the country. Lots of fun, very cool. I have to applaud Boom's initiative of getting top-notch, unknown, or relatively unknown creators. I mean, it's their whole run. The people they got for the initial runs of Adventure Time were A-list webcomic people. John Allison on Giant Days was best known for webcomics before Giant Days, and they just get they find these diamonds in the rough, these people that are known to certain circles but aren't known to the public at large, and they let them tell their story on a larger scale, and I'm super appreciative of it. Mentioning John Allison, before he wrote Giant Days, which is like the best non-punching book being published today, he did a comic called Bad Machinery, and today we just got a new publishing of it. Oni Press is doing what they call their pocket edition. It's $9.99. If you like Giant Days, if you like his humor, if you like stuff like Parks and Rec, slice of life, humor, people getting into adventures and hijinks, you will love it. So check it out. And if you can't afford $9.99 for the trade, there will be a free comic book day issue on Free Comic Book Day. So you can try it for free and then come back and buy it because I was right.
Save up your pennies to buy the $9.99 trade. I'm going to stay in the land of Marvel this week with Daredevil number 18, written by Charles Soule, art by Ron Garney. This is Running with the Devil is across the top, so I assume that's the name of the storyline.
Well, that's what's across all of the...
It's called Purple. Purple Part 2. And if you couldn't figure that out or you didn't read the last issue, this involves the return of the Purple Man, Zebediah Killgrave.
And his purple children.
And his purple children. The Purple Children. If you've been reading Daredevil for a while, you know that Killgrave has fathered these 5 purple children to help increase his power, and they were kind of in hiding. Then he found them, and then they went into hiding again, because when the kids are together, I think they look normal. Do they only turn purple when they're together?
I'm not sure. We only ever see them together, so...
The way that it was written is they purple when they're together.
Okay.
But I don't know. So anyway, something has happened. Killgrave has escaped from the maximum security prison he was in because of some dumbass guard.
It's always some dumbass guard.
It's always some dumbass guard. And some bad stuff is going down. And this is the storyline where we find out how Matt Murdock erased everyone's memory of his identity, because prior to Soule taking over, I guess prior to Daredevil moving from San Francisco back to New York, everybody knew that Matt Murdock was Daredevil, and it had kind of been public knowledge since Bendis' run, long time ago. Well, mostly public knowledge.
Yeah, so he was still denying it through the Brubaker.
He was denying it, but
they put him on trial.
It was made public, right? And then it was during Wade's run that he kind of embraced, okay, I'm Matt Murdock.
Yeah.
With his cool I'm not Daredevil Christmas sweater that he wore. So Daredevil has really been top notch for so many years. I mean, I can't. There was a little bit of a low point when Black Panther took over the title of Daredevil.
Well, that was a good book. It just wasn't.
It didn't fit
yeah.
When he became like the kingpin of Chinatown.
Right, Shadowland.
Shadowland was not my favorite Daredevil stuff, but Mark Waid and Charles Soule now are continuing to tell awesome Daredevil stories. Not too late to get into this, and we will see what happens. Matt is telling this story. He's basically confessing to a priest. So the whole story takes place in the past. So we know that Matt obviously survives, but at what cost?
Well, we know those. Yeah. And how much are they in those priest sessions? How much are they drawing him like Charlie Cox? Like this
my God, the first page.
Yeah,
I looked at him like, oh, come on now. Yeah, the first panel.
Yeah.
And I think the priest is Luke Cage, but I'm not sure. Check it out. Good stuff.
Next up for me is Batwoman number 1. This is the first issue of the Rebirth series, following up on the Batwoman Rebirth, written by Marguerite Bennett and James Tynion IV, with art by Steve Epting. Who would I remember Steve Epting from?
Winter Soldier.
That's right,
Captain America, Winter
Soldier.
Among other things.
But really, that's the one. And this really picks up. We see where the story's going. The Kate fulfilling the mission Batman has sent her on. We're still getting some interesting stuff into Kate's past. Did we know last issue that Pennyworth was going with her?
No.
Okay,
I don't think she was in the last issue.
Okay, Julia Pennyworth, right?
Sure.
Alfred's daughter, who showed up in the end of the New 52 run, the Snyder stuff, is off playing. Basically, she's playing butler to Batwoman on a yacht as she travels the globes, hunting down people and punching them. And I love their interactions. Their dynamic is great. The humor and because Alfred is like everyone's favorite Bat character, and so it's important to surround a main character with supporting players that are as interesting as they are, and Julia certainly fits the bill. And Batwoman sees people get murdered, and it somehow, as always happens in comics, it relates to their past.
Yes.
Things that happened to her in
she was
previous
on the
times.
island.
Yes. There was a smoke monster, Hurley was there, it was a whole thing. But no,
Yes.
Batwoman 1 is a great deal of fun.
Yeah, I think Rebirth has really introduced a lot of people to Batwoman. Prior to Batwoman being in Detective Comics, I don't recall our Batwoman numbers being, very good. Even though Greg Rucka wrote the original series. But I think, it's great. It's great that Batwoman has a wider audience now, and she's an interesting character, and it's great to have the Wayne family stuff on display. It's interesting. Killer Be Killed is my next pick. Number 7, written by the awesome team of Ed Brubaker and art by Sean Phillips. And this entire issue focuses on Kira, who is the best friend / girlfriend of our main character. What's his nuts? Glenn? Daryl? What is his name? Dylan. His name is Dylan.
Like them two.
Dylan, yeah. Da-na-na-na. Da-na-na-na. Okay, anyway. And this, you know what? This, Brubaker, I think, published this so that people could jump into the series at this point. In fact, he mentioned that in his newsletter. I don't think it works entirely. And this isn't a slam of the series. It's just, I don't know if I would give this to someone and be like, here, read this issue. You've never read any of the previous issues. You'll completely get what's going on. It doesn't work that way. But what we get is kind of a standalone character moment for Kira, who we don't know a whole lot about. The book focuses on Dylan, and here we find out that Kira is also this multi-layered character with a strenuous past, with a present that she's not really enamored with, and this person that she really cares about, Dylan, who she feels like she's screwing things up left and right, and we find out why that kind of happens in this story. I will follow what I said earlier up with everyone should read this book. It is great. Great crime thriller if that's your thing. I wouldn't recommend it to somebody that likes My Little Pony and that's it. But it's an excellent crime thriller, as everything that Brubaker and Phillips do is that.
Those words.
So yeah, and as I was reading this, the thing that just jumped out at me was Brubaker's writing. He is one of the best writers in comics, and he can write anything. He can write superheroes. He can write crime fiction, just really good stuff.
And if you're excited for this week's Iron Fist premiering on Netflix, it looks like a lot of the impetus behind that was drawn from the Brubaker started run, which was also written by Matt Fraction, who we love on Sex Criminals, and
available in collected edition.
All of Brubaker's back catalog is worth reading. But if you like Iron Fist, that's the first comic I would send you to if you like the Netflix.
Yeah,
show.
His last superhero stuff was what, Captain America, I think.
Probably.
But before that, he'd written Batman. He'd written Iron Fist. He'd written some other people, Catwoman. Yeah. So if you're enjoying Brubaker's crime stuff, you might want to check out his back catalog of superhero books.
What was the one that was superheroes and crime stuff? Incognito?
Mm-hmm.
That was good. Anyway.
And that was Phillips, too, I think.
The covers were definitely Phillips. Next up for me is the first part of Dark Horse's adaptation of Neil Gaiman's American Gods. This is art by P. Craig Russell. And, script and layouts by P. Craig Russell, art by Scott Hampton. It must be nice to be so important you don't have to draw stuff.
Oh, story by Neil Gaiman.
Oh, yeah, story. It's based on a novel, it's clearly. Story and words, although almost all of the words are taken almost verbatim from the novel.
Oh.
So, in case you haven't heard, there's a little show called American Gods. It's going to be premiering not too far in the future. Is it April, March?
I think it's April.
It's April, so a month or so away. Stars? Showtime? Stars.
Yes.
On Stars, starring Ian McShane and other people. It is based on a Neil Gaiman book from 15 years ago, roughly. And the book is amazing. It is probably my favorite Neil Gaiman book. And you have to see my collection of Neil Gaiman stuff to understand that that's quite a compliment. But the book is sprawling. It's basically modern mythology. So it's not easy to adapt. I have no idea how they're going to do it on TV, although I'm very excited. And it's not easy to adapt into a comic, and I think they did a great job kicking it off in this issue. It seems like they're going to be doing multiple arcs or possibly multiple series. This one's called American God's Shadow. Shadow is the main character from both the show and the book. And it picks up with him in prison, and he gets out a little early because something horrific happens, and it follows him from there as he gets sucked deeper and deeper into the world of weird mythological stuff, which I'm sure you got just from the name Neil Gaiman in the title. But very good, super awesome. If you haven't read the book, I highly recommend it as well. Yeah. American Gods, top notch. Fantasy, gothic horror, mythology, definitely. Just going to keep saying words.
Yep, I'm not going to talk until he's done. Because it's Neil Gaiman. Josh could just talk for the next hour about Neil Gaiman.
Yes. Not for children. Very, very not for children.
Coraline? Or...
Well, Coraline was for children, but it still scared me.
Yeah, it was creepy, yeah. All right, and other books that you should consider this week. Highlander, The American Dream, number 2 is out and continues to be all kinds of awesomeness for fans of the original 1984 movie? 86?
Mid-80s.
85. I'm going to go with 85.
Marty McFly.
Might have been 86.
Gotta go back in time. Trinity number 7 kicks off a new arc by Cullen Bunn and Clay Mann, where we get the dark version of the Trinity, Ra's al Ghul, Lex Luthor, and Circe getting into some weird mystical stuff and fighting their demons.
They're sitting in a sweat lodge with Coady or something.
Basically.
Super Sons number 2 is out. This book continues to be all kinds of fun. Written by Peter Tomasi, artwork by Jorge Jimenez. The team of John Kent and Damian Wayne is just something that everyone should read and enjoy.
Miss Marvel 16, G. Willow Wilson and Hiro Miyazawa?
And Wee Willie Winky.
Takeshi Miyazawa. Continues Kamala's fight against an internet troll, and it's super awesome. Wilson's doing a great job writing superhero stories that are relevant to our times.
And that's what she does. She's a great writer in that respect. Batman, number 19, I Am Bane, continues. This is the second to last chapter, if I'm not mistaken, and basically Batman makes Bane run the gamut of Arkham Asylum to get to him, and it's very interesting to see the inmates of Arkham try and protect Batman from Bane.
The Riddler line, he says, our game of jokes and riddles.
Okay.
Is that referencing something specific?
It may have been from year 1 or year 0. Sorry, wasn't the Riddler the bad guy in 0 year?
Yeah, probably.
One of
yes. Oh, he was the big guy.
Yeah, because they bolded it, and it looks like it. Tell him I still remember our war of jokes and riddles. I don't know.
The jokes part is what threw me off. That's I don't remember.
I don't
so I don't know if
remember
that's foreshadowing or what. God Country number 3. Old man with Alzheimer's gets a magic sword and stabs mother and fights off gods from beyond space. And awesome.
Superman 19, part 3 of Superman Reborn. Continues the excellent story written by Peter Tomasi and Dan Jurgens, artwork by, Jurgens is doing action, but in this issue it's Peter Tomasi and Patrick Gleason on story and Patrick Gleason on pencils, and Josh and I were discussing before we went in front of the camera here that Gleason does an excellent job with the artwork here, especially with, you should know by now, Mxyzptlk. And this is just, I'm curious to see what happens here. We may find out that the Superman and Lois of the New 52 universe may not be as gone as we thought.
And last up, Wildstorm by Warren Ellis and John Davis Hunt with Steve Buccellato. I could give no craps about the Wildstorm universe, but Ellis writes amazing dialogue and really engaging characters. There's so many characters in this book, and he makes you kind of care about all of them or hate them, which is a form of caring, I suppose. But
so that is it for this week. Lots of options to choose from when you head out to your local comic shop, and if you're in the Lima area, we hope that's us. If you have any questions, please post them in the comments below. We don't get many questions anymore. I don't know if we've answered all the questions.
Maybe we didn't answer enough of them.
Or maybe that's the case. Maybe it's because we never arm wrestled. I don't know.
I don't know.
There was that one person who kept saying arm wrestle. I don't know why. That was his thing. But you can also ask questions, and that might be part of it. Continue the conversation over at our private Facebook group. Comics are awesome. We'll have a link down below. And, as I mentioned last week, and will continue to mention for forever, we can now be your local comic shop if you're outside of the area. You can set up a pull list with us via our new app, which is customer or customers?
Customer.comichub.com. If you go to Comic
Yeah.
Hub, just comichub.com,
Just go to
then you
Comic
click on
Hub,
customer.
comichub.com, click on customer, and we are one of the only stores in the United States, if not the only store in the United States using this right now. We're kind of the test, the pilot program, which makes Josh happy to no end.
It is worth noting that this is a pull list service. It's primarily geared towards ordering things out of the catalog to receive in the future in bundles. We will have a solution soon for ordering individual issues. You know, like if you see the video and you want to order what came out this week, we will have that, but that's not currently something that's part of the program.
We are working on it. We're basically working on putting all of our in-store inventory available on a website for you to peruse. So if you're looking for that complete Iron Fist Volume 1 that Ed Brubaker and Matt Fraction wrote, as long as we have it in the store, you'll be able to order it online, easy peasy. So keep an eye out for that. So we'll put a link down there. If you like this week's episode, give it a thumbs up. We appreciate that. It gets it in front of more eyeballs. And make sure to subscribe, because who knows, we may launch new videos one day, other than Alter Ego Comics TV. I may actually do a second episode of Ask Mark. Who knows? But we do appreciate you. We appreciate you watching. We appreciate you commenting, liking, and participating in the Facebook group. You guys are awesome. Have a great week.